Shelley Sneed while we're doing the Hanson Sneed. Am I out of order?
Well, that's a whole nother topic, isn't it? Well, no, we're going to do the sacred giving.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
wondering.
Yeah, but you should
So
stay. Come on.
Okay.
Come on back.
All right.
So sacred giving while the talk is going on. That's what I thought we did.
Yeah, while she's doing the announcement.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Oh, I apologize.
All
Good
right.
morning, everyone.
Don't start yet. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Never mind. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Okay.
If we're out of order, it's okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shelley Sneed, used to be Hanson, hence the confusion earlier about my name. I've been a student with CFIA for, I think, about 5 years. So for those of you who I haven't met, that's a little bit about me. So the announcements for today are this Wednesday, music and meditation with Reverend Rebecca Shepherd and Jackie Day here at Sacred Space. Please join us at 6:30 here at Sacred Space. Saturday in Sacred Space, Reverend Patricia Roller and Elisa Drake will be holding a class called Interpreting Dreams and Making Dream Pillows. You'll learn how to interpret your dreams, understand the different kinds of dreams, and learn the 16th century art of making dream pillows to encourage the dreaming process. That sounds really exciting. Cost is $15, which includes all the materials.
45.
What did I say?
15.
Where did I get that?
I
I just made that up.
you were hoping,
Yeah, sorry. Editorial comment. $45, which includes materials, and the 4-hour class starts at 1 p.m. Did I get those numbers right?
Yes,
Sorry. Current and past participants will be invited to a quarterly pajama potluck. How fun is that? Where they'll be interpreting dreams for each other. So please let Patricia know if you're taking the class by Tuesday so that they have enough materials for everyone that attends. 1 p.m. on Saturday upstairs at CFIA, Mary Jo Weavers will be giving a class on Mercury retrogrades, what they are and what can I do about them. That cost is $50. There's a sign-up sheet on the buffet in the back for the newsletter and for the Metaphysical Bible Study, which will start in March, so if anybody's interested in that. And just an announcement, and unfortunately she's not here, so we can't give her a round of applause, but we can do that individually, is the new events coordinator for Sacred Space and CFIA is Jackie Day, so please contact her if you're interested in holding any classes or workshops at either space. She's on Facebook, and if anybody needs to know how to reach her otherwise, contact Patricia or someone else. The store will be open today, and we keep adding new things to the store, so come and see. Every week there's a little bit something different. If any of you have items you'd like to sell in the store, we'll find room for it, and are always willing to support our community. As a reminder, and we're just going to start talking about this, and it's really exciting for those of you who haven't been, is the CFIA and Sacred Space Retreat is coming up. It'll be Tuesday, July 29th through Friday, August 1st. How many here have been to a retreat with us? So a few, about a little more than half. So for those of you who haven't, it's really a great time. It's an action-packed, filled 3 days with lots of learning and fun. The food is great. The weather is often very nice. You get to spend some time in community, and it's really fun.
I'm sorry, just notice the word often. Really nice.
Often really nice.
Yes.
I had to clarify
Often.
because we do live in Oregon.
Yes.
I didn't want to make a promise and then have somebody say I need to refund their money.
Which you
because
know
I
that's what I would
promised.
do. That is flowing into sacred space, that is allowing this community to grow, to provide light and roads for people to travel, to find who they truly are. Amen.
The world around us seems confused, but is it really? Or is it just one point of view? We could choose, for I know those who do believe, just as I do. Our world is just as it should be. And people seem so eager to just talk about walk and walk the path of the dove, we would find that peace is found through love. Our every thought, every word is a prayer that's always heard, rippling out across the planet and beyond. Every feeling, every deed, every action is a seed, so why not plant the seeds of love and unity? A new beginning, a new day won't come tomorrow. The change can only start today in our minds and our hearts. And even though it may just seem like we are only one, others will join once we've begun. Just think of all the people who imagine something new, the dreamers and believers who were told that they were fools. For all it takes is one to start, and soon there will be two. And on till one day the dream is true. Our every thought, every word is a prayer that's always heard, rippling out across the planet and beyond. Every feeling, every deed, every action is a seed, so why not plant the seeds of love and unity? Our every thought, every word is a prayer that's always heard, rippling out across the planet and beyond. Every feeling, every deed, every action is a seed, so why not plant the seeds of love and unity? Why not plant the seeds of love and unity?
That was beautiful. To be honest and say that I wrote my notes, as you can see, not lots of them, for the talk today. But what's so interesting is hearing what Shelley said and what she read, and then listening to the words of this song have made me realize that likely I won't follow this at all. So we're going to see where this talk goes. Because what I was sitting here thinking and feeling was how this past week, and I find it so, I'm going to use the word ironic, that the topic for this talk is what your words say about your life. Just because of what I've been going through, especially this past week. So one of the things that, as I, again, was putting my notes together, I found a verse in the Bible. It's John 3:31. The one who comes from above is above all. The one who is from the earth belongs to the earth and speaks as one from the earth. What I liked about that, what really struck me, was that when we're on the earth, and we're in the earth, and we're of the earth, meaning that we have forgotten about who we are spiritually, we say things that are very earth-based. So I never get, I never get ... Nobody ever I can't, right? That's, to me, that's all earth-based. That's how I've been feeling this past week. Very heavy, very just overwhelmed with the negative energy that I've allowed myself to step into. And what I find so intriguing when I find myself in these spaces is that we know, right? Those of us who have studied metaphysics and understand who we really are, it is still easy because we are in this earth-based energy, which is heavy, to find ourselves negative or heavy, I guess. It's the only word I can think of to use today. So what I wanted to ask folks, and just to think about, you don't need to raise your hand or anything, in this last week, and especially because so many people are sick, and we get, well, not Ray. Ray's not sick. But so many of us are sick, and we have things that we've been struggling with over these last few weeks. What kinds of thoughts have been crossing our mind? Are we really saying, are we remembering that we are spirit and that we don't have to be sick? Ray's done a good job of that because he isn't sick and he hasn't been, and yet so many people are around this country. In fact, my mom happened to have surgery on Wednesday, and the doctor came out and said, we don't know what room she's going to be in because the hospital is full. Right, and they were thinking about putting her in the maternity ward, which I said, oh, I'm sure she'd be fine with that. The doctor said, well, I'm fine with it, but the other surgeon isn't. And so I said, well, why? Is the hospital full? Well, it's the influenza. So lots of people are really sick. Well, what kinds of things have been going through our minds that have opened us up to allow this illness to actually come into our lives? The flip side of that, though, is what is this illness trying to teach us that it's come in? Because everything has, if you think of the yin-yang sign, right? Everything has a positive and a negative. So something comes into our lives and there's a negative aspect to it. What is the positive aspect to it? Sometimes we can see immediately what that is, and sometimes we can't. Just because we're either too close to the situation. Sometimes years later we can look back at the situation and see what it was about. Sometimes we never do while we're here on the earth plane. So again, I'm sitting over there and I'm listening to what Shelley's talking about, and I'm listening to the words of this beautiful song that Rebecca just sang. And just all kinds of things came in my mind. I got to thinking about, I think the gentleman's name was Sherman. I can't think of his last name. But the football player who after their game, after they won and are going to the Super Bowl, and somebody asks him how he feels, the very first thing he can talk about is this huge negative emotion toward a player from another team that either made some disparaging comment about him. I don't know what the circumstance was, but he could not stand there in the glory of going to what in his profession is the top. You can't get any higher than that. All he could think about was commenting in this really negative way about this other gentleman. That's sad, but we do that. It's hard for us to let those things go and to recognize, that we're all human. People say things, people do things that don't always align with how we think or how we want to live our lives. But really, to give up your own moment of supreme glory to focus on something negative. So let's take that and kind of shrink that down a little bit. How many times have we done that? Something has happened, we've worked really hard to get somewhere, we actually get somewhere along the way, because this is the truth. Along the way there's been somebody who's tried to cut us off at the knees constantly, yet we still make it. And we get there, wherever the there is, and we think, ha ha ha, despite you, I've made it. Right? Instead of saying to ourselves, well, look at us. You know, look, my spirit team has helped me get here. I'm so excited to be here in this place. And that's really what we want to talk about, because as Shelley said, it's not just the words that we actually say out, it's the words that we think that help direct our lives. And so how do we notice that we're thinking negative things, especially when it's chronic and we've done it for years? And you know, it's not something I can attest to. It isn't something that you really have to work at it, I guess. Something that you've said to yourself over and over and over again throughout many, many years. It's not going to come to your attention just like that you're saying it. Now, what may happen is it does come to your attention just like that you're saying it that one time. And then, you know, now you go and you've said it 100 times, and then it comes to your awareness again. Oh, wait a minute, I just said that to myself. But you missed the other 100 times. And what we know is that words are things, and they create our experience. And so if we are focusing on the negative and not remembering who we are in terms of being spiritual beings that are here on the earth plane, and that we have the power to manifest and to create our own lives, if we don't remember that, then it's easier to stay in the negative. But because we don't really take on the responsibility of creating the world that we're living in. So I'm sort of, again, this last week has been terribly difficult for me. And I'm trying to figure out how to work it and how to shift my thoughts. Sometimes, though, I wonder whether or not, well, actually I do know this, that things happen not because of you, but because somebody else needs to experience something. So, you know, is what I'm experiencing because in the end there's some lesson for somebody else? Or is it because I've been thinking negatively and that's why this situation has been created? I don't really know yet what the answer to that is. What I know is that I'm feeling very earth-based, and it's quite hard to get up into the spiritual base, and I can think positively and I can create in my mind what I want to happen, but it isn't happening that way. So then I have to say, are there thoughts that are going on in my mind that are hidden from me? Or really is this because it's about somebody else? In which case, all my role is to play my role. So as long as I'm not getting harmed by it, physically harmed by it, you know, in the end there'll be some benefit. I'll have learned something, which may be to stay in grace in the situation and not allow it to bring me down, recognizing that it is for somebody else, but it wasn't for me to carry the weight of it. Does that make sense? And it's the weight, I think, that then helps to drag us into the negative thoughts that we think. I, as many of you know, a couple of years ago had a pretty stressful job and left the office one day, sat in my car and said, with all of this emotion, I cannot stand this anymore. I have got to have a break. Yes. And so that was a Friday night. I picked up the phone, I called Mary Matson, and I said, Mary, do you have time to do a massage on Saturday? And she did. So I went over and had a massage on Saturday, and I get over there, and she said, she makes some comment, which she never has before, about the amount of spirit beings that are in the room. Okay, I don't really think much of it, other than that I find that really interesting. Okay, go home. Sunday I decide I want to go out for a drive. I had gotten a new car, and I just thought, you know, it was kind of a nice day, open the top, you know, go for a ride. I go for a ride, and at some point during the ride, I thought about having a car accident. Yes, exactly. And then I thought, well, no, my new car doesn't want to have a car accident. Okay. So then I go to the grocery store and I go home. And as I'm walking into my house, I fall and I break both of my legs.
Oh.
That's Sunday. Okay, Friday night at 6 o'clock or 6:30 when I left the office, I said, I cannot stand this anymore. I have got to have a break. Sunday, I could not stand, and I had not one but 2 breaks. Because honestly, if I would have had just 1 break, I would have still found a way to go to work, right? I wouldn't have gotten my break from work, which I did. I also got actual literal breaks, sadly. But Colossians 4:4, and I thought this was really interesting, that I may make it manifest as I should speak. Exactly. So there we go. That's what our words do. They create our lives for us. And so if we're thinking about negative things, if we're not thinking about the positive of them, then we're creating a negative space to live in. And I think of those negative thoughts as limiting beliefs. So when we think about I can't, or I never, or people are always, so these really large inclusive statements about something that is negative, then we're creating that environment. We're limiting our belief, our ability to believe that something better can be in our lives than what we've just said. And that's what we need to do. We need to release the limiting beliefs. We need to recognize that we're thinking them, and we need to transform them. So when we say, I can never find a job that I like, what's going to happen? You're never going to find a job that you like, or for a long period. So maybe you like it at first, but then very shortly thereafter you realize all these things that are wrong with it, and so you don't like it. Okay, well, you've just manifested what you have said for a long time. I can never find a job I really like. So then the question is, if you know you're thinking that, what do you say? What's the opposite of, I can never find a job I really like?
I love my job.
I love my job. I always have a job that I love. I always find a job that I love doing. And again, so you're changing the negative into the positive. I never get invited out to go anywhere. So what happens? Every night you're sitting at home and you're hearing about, or you're going out onto Facebook, which apparently can really bring people down. It can really have a depressing effect on people, because as folks type in stuff on Facebook, it sounds so exciting and it looks as though these people are living these really fantastic lives. And then you're sitting at home and you're thinking, gee, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I haven't had that experience. So now we're feeling bad about ourselves, right? So how do we transform that? I never get asked to go anywhere.
Ask someone.
Ask someone, exactly. Yes. Or I'm always busy doing fun and exciting things. That's the way to transform the limiting beliefs. Because again, what we think about, we bring about. So when you're noticing that you're saying something negative, find a way to transform that. I've noticed also in this past week, which it's actually a little bit longer than this past week, probably for a really long time, but specifically this past week, I've been noticing as I've been listening and watching the news on television, how negative everything is. And how there's no tolerance for, politically speaking, there's no tolerance for the other side's opinion. It's either you believe the way I believe, whether it's right or left, or you're a complete moron and an idiot, right? And so how do you get to the middle, politically, if that's what you think? Because you're never going to think that somebody else could possibly have a good idea. That's the same limiting belief. You are limiting yourself in 2 ways. One, by being so egotistical that you think you are the only one, or your group of like-minded people are the only ones who know the right way. You know, that's a problem. And then to think that the others, whoever the others are, no matter what they think, that's going to be wrong, because they're just stupid idiots. Okay, well, so you're creating that environment. And when you have a whole bunch of people, as we do in the country, because it's not just the politicians that are going into these directions, then we start having these sort of divisions within the country as well. So you're constantly, you know, having this negative energy that is swirling around us all the time in all these different ways that sometimes we're aware of and sometimes we're not. So shifting that and believing that the right thing is going to happen, no matter what is going on, the right thing will eventually happen. The right thing is going to happen. The right thing happens. The right thing has happened. Even though I'm going through this, I know that in the end, I will have benefited from this in some way. Whatever this is. I think it's difficult, you know, when there is so much negativity around, to bring ourselves back to the positive, to bring ourselves back to think about what it is that we really want in life, instead of just thinking about what we don't want, which again is the negative. So, what kinds of things can we say to ourselves when, and I love this is something Patricia says, so she can't answer. What kinds of things do we say to ourselves when we say, you know, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm never going to ... Okay, so Patricia, what?
I am in charge.
I am in charge, that's correct. That's good. That, though, to get to that point sometimes, we have to put a stop to, it doesn't matter what I do, I will never, because that thought just sort of resonates, and it's ping-ponging back and forth in our heads. It's not in our hearts, it's in our heads. And so I love the fact that Patricia says thinking, because it's really putting a stop to whatever the thought is, just stopping it in its tracks, which then opens us up to say, I am in charge. And so now, I really can do. It may not look like it in the moment. In the moment, it may look as though there is no way for me to get from where I am here to where I think I want to be.